got interested in the healing nature of horses when I was this survivor of domestic violence. My horse really helped me heal.
Hello, and welcome back to Courage, Confidence, Connections podcast. My wonderful fans, this is Janice Debo. I am your host, and my guest today is Tammy Harty. She has such an interesting story and a fabulous service that she provides. So we're going to get to talk about horses today, one of my favorite topics ever. And welcome, Tammy.
Well, hello. It's been a while.
It has been a long time, I'll tell you that. I think Sherry's was still open, and that's where we met, was Sherry's, and it's probably been about 8 years or so. So anyway, we're back here, not in the same place, but we're going to talk about how Courage, Confidence, and Connections has impacted your life and what you do and all that good stuff. If you would please tell our listeners a little bit about you, and then we'll just go from there.
Well, we'll keep it short, but I've spent a lifetime with horses. I've ridden horses competitively for 40 years. But I got interested in the healing nature of horses when I was this survivor of domestic violence. My horse really helped me heal through that process. And interestingly enough, through that process, I also wanted to help other women who had been in that situation. And as things go, I got that opportunity to go to grad school at age 50 and got my master's degree in counseling. And then since then have been providing equine facilitated mental health sessions to trauma survivors, veterans, and domestic violence survivors and sexual assault survivors.
Yeah, that's much needed too. And coming from where I've been in my life, I really appreciate that. And there's just way too much of that, but at least we have modalities for healing, such as you do. So that's good.
Yeah, much more common than people realize.
It really is. I had a guest a couple weeks ago that grew up with some horrible sexual abuse as a kid. And so I think the word, get the word out more and more, that it doesn't just come in one form. It can look like so many different things. It can be verbal, it can be physical, it can be a combination. So there's so many different things that can happen to a woman or even a man. I've met a guy that went through some very bad domestic violence. It's not one-way street at all.
Yeah, and that's been my experience too.
Mhm.
And I've got clients right now, a lot of the military sexual assault, it doesn't happen to just women in the military, it happens to men too.
Oh my gosh. It just breaks my heart. Okay, so talking about you, and you said you've been involved with horses. How long?
My whole life.
What got you into that? Did you grow up, did your family have horses when you were a little tiny thing? And
Yeah, we had them on and off when I was probably under the age of 12, and then from 12 on, I had them pretty consistently. But that was kind of my escape um, and my passion, and it kept me out of probably a lot of trouble, but it also kept me focused on things and gave me some things to do. I really didn't get a lot of parenting as a kid, which was, I could have gone a whole different direction, but instead of, I had my horse, and that kept me pretty busy in a positive way, and got really involved in horses from pretty consistently from age 12 well into adulthood.
did you compete as in Western, or what's the other one?
There's all kinds of disciplines, but I've pretty much through my lifetime either ridden or competed in most all events you can do horseback. So I had a pretty amazing horse for the last 15 years that I rode competitively. And we did everything from cutting, reining, rein cow horse, ranch horse versatility. We did the extreme cowboy race.
Wow.
I played polo on her. We did cowboy mounted shooting. I mean,
Oh.
and all the traditional competition, events.
Did you do barrel racing?
Yeah, a little of that just for fun and those kind of speed events.
Well, that's great. I never got into that. I've had a couple of horses, but I never did any of that. The most I did was ride her too long one time, and she decided I was not the boss, and so we had a difference of opinion, which left me sitting on the side of the road. And so
Yeah, not uncommon. Yeah.
I know horses are amazing animals. And so on that note, I'd like to talk in depth about what you do and how this all works as a healing modality.
So the first thing about horses is they've done some research and it's called heart math. The horse's heart is larger than ours and it beats slower than ours. So just merely being in the presence of a horse reduces your heart rate, therefore reduces your anxiety.
Oh, that's amazing. Wow. Now I know they're very sensitive animals, and I know that just being in their presence, looking in their eyes is powerful, in my opinion. They're intense creatures.
Well, they're sentient beings and they have a pretty high level of intelligence, but they also have an emotional intelligence and they can read not only body language, but can tell. They're almost like well, they are like biofeedback. So they're prey animals. And so as prey animals, they are pretty hypervigilant and they're very aware of the energy and emotion around them. And that helps to keep them safe. So by them reading what's going on around them, they decide whether they're safe or not safe and whether they need to run away or not. That ends up working out pretty well for therapy because they're attuned to our emotional state and our anxiety. And so it works kind of as a not only biofeedback, but kind of as a mirror. Like if I take a client in the pen with a horse and they've got some anxiety, that horse may not want to come right over right away to say hello because they're trying to figure out, is there some reason I need to be concerned or afraid? Do I need to run? Do I need to engage?
Mhm.
So that gives us a way to look at that and say, wow, isn't that interesting? The horse doesn't want to come over. What do you think's going on? And it's a good way for the client to maybe reflect and say, well, I had a little bit of road rage on the way over here today, or I'm not getting along at home, or something upset me, or I'm having trouble, um, you know, getting access to some benefits. Maybe the veterans have to go through a bunch of jumping through hoops or a lot of phone calls that they get transferred or on hold forever, those kinds of things that might bring up some anxiety. And so the horse kind of points that out in a way that the clients can accept that, like, and go, well, maybe it's me, and can take that a step further and going, yeah, my wife didn't want to have anything to do with it this morning, or the kids kind of tiptoed around me today, and it's because I'm in this mood, or I'm pretty reactive.
So they have the ability to help us, like you said, with a mirror, help us see something we might not otherwise see. And and just kind of, so you put them in the pen with a person. Is the horse in there and then the person comes in? Is that how you typically do it?
No, we have a whole process that we start off where we teach how teach clients how to keep themselves safe by learning to read the body language and
Oh,
learning to understand how horses communicate. So that we may do several sessions before we ever go in the pen with the horse, but we're just observing from the outside and watching them interact with each other. I do some teaching about what that body language might be. Horses have 40 some facial expressions,
mm.
and to try and get people to tune into that, trust their intuition, kind of think about what they might be saying to each other. and learning about how they operate, learning a little bit about their personality before we ever go in the pen to meet them. That's really a great opportunity for someone to become present and more aware of their surroundings and more aware about what's going on with the horse's ears or their eyes or their tail, or just how they're standing or where they're standing and if they're approaching, not approaching, and then how they interact and greet each other, how they move each other around. And so all of that is taught well before we go in the pen with the horse.
That's interesting. So the energy, the horses, I had no idea they could have 40 expressions. That's eye opener for me without question. I'm like, wow, maybe I should have read my horse's face before I took her on an 8-hour ride that day. But or 4-hour ride. But anyway, they're amazing creatures. Now, do your clients ride the horse or do they just interact otherwise?
No, we don't do any riding at all. It's all groundwork, and it's about relationship and connection and partnership. It's about learning to trust your intuition, about trying to figure out what the horses are saying to each other, but also understanding that if you don't feel comfortable with something, to take a step back. The horses give us a lot of opportunities to practice learning new skills or practicing skills like boundaries, especially with women survivors of domestic violence. They often need to work on boundaries, and the horses give us this opportunity to have these interactions. Often they want to work on assertiveness too, or speaking up, or standing their ground, or asking for what they need. So the horses are a great sentient being to practice those things with, um, and with someone that's probably more cooperative than other people in their lives. And they get to feel how it feels to say those things or to do those things, about how to move a horse out of your space. We start with the mini horses. I've got 3 miniature horses who
Wow.
all have large personalities, but it's a less intimidating place to start. And
Mhm.
so you get to learn to do all of that with the miniature horse. And then when someone becomes comfortable enough or wants to challenge themselves, then we'll turn to one of our full-size horses, and then we can start that process again.
That is really cool. The miniature horses, I've never been around them. I remember being around one very ornery Shetland pony when I was a kid.
Yeah, and the minis aren't ponies, so these are not naughty, and they're not like the typical pony. They have the horse personality. Um, it doesn't mean they're not challenging, but they're just not naughty like the ponies. So they're very much more like the horse personality.
How I've got that brings up a question just for my curiosity and maybe someone listening too. How did miniature ponies get started? I know there's a lot of details in breeding of dogs and stuff because you got big and small but how in the world did they wind up breeding small miniature ponies? I mean miniature horses.
Yeah, it same kind of thing as the teacup dog breeds. They just kept breeding them down. But I've never owned one until we bought Durango. That's been almost 8 years ago now, and he is an amazing little horse. But nothing bothers him. We take him on in-home hospice visits, and he just takes it all in stride, and um,
Oh.
he's just great. So, but he drives. If you're 30 pounds or less, you can ride him. But um, he's pretty amazing. But yeah, I wish he were bigger.
How big are those miniature horses?
um, he's probably just a hair bigger. Well, he might be a little smaller than a Great Dane, height wise.
Okay.
They're not very big. They're about 30. I think Durango might be 34 inches tall at his withers.
Nice.
Yeah.
And do they share the pastures with the bigger horses, the regular horses?
Not at this time. Sometimes we'll turn them out together, supervised. And the minis used to live with my performance horse until we lost her about 2 years ago.
Okay.
So we turn them out with the big horses, but after a while, I think Durango irritates them enough that they chase him around a bit, and then he can't really keep up. So
Oh,
yeah,
kind of like the big dogs and the small dogs.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's funny. That's so.
But our smallest herd member, a little bit, doesn't take any crap from the big horses, and she has their respect. If they get too close or get too bothering her, she just kicks them in the shins.
Oh, my word. That
Yeah. And she's pretty quick too, so they don't generally go back for more than two of those, and then they're like, "We're good, like no more of that."
oh my goodness. That's so funny. So your clients never ride the horses.
No.
Now you work with veterans very closely.
Yeah, about 40 or 50% of my private practice is veterans, men and women veterans, military spouses, military families makes up quite a bit of my private practice. And then for the nonprofit, I write grants to where we work with, we do an integrative retreat for men veteran, women veterans, LGBTQ veterans, and then we've got veteran spouses, and then we do kind of a watered down version for the kids, the military family kids. We
Okay.
just did a military family day at the ranch last weekend, and also a men's retreat, which is just a single day retreat, but it's integrative. And then the other part of my private practice is trauma survivors, sexual assault survivors, domestic violence survivors, and a lot of trauma. I've also had some neurodivergent clients who
Oh,
do really well with the horses.
oh, that's great. Now, do you work with people that don't involve the horses? Is there another line of work that you do that doesn't involve the horses?
No, all of it involves the horses to some level.
Okay. Okay. That's great. I'm wondering with the veterans is have you seen a difference with the people that have been actually in combat in their how the horses react to those folks more or other than just those of us who are regular people needing therapy?
So the thing about the equine therapy that got me into serving veterans is a lot of the veterans, well, and anyone who's been assaulted really doesn't want to talk about their assault. They want to get that as far in the rearview mirror as possible to some extent. So the often when the traditional therapy, office therapy fails, the equine therapy works out really well because it's hands-on and the veterans are used to or more apt to be open to doing something that's hands-on and that's outside and that's done in a space that's peaceful and quiet. And driving into the city for a lot of those people or driving into any town causes social anxiety.
Oh,
So the fact that the therapy takes place on the ranch and that it's in a rural setting, it's very quiet. There's nothing else going on here on the ranch. We're surrounded by properties that raise cattle, so it's pretty wide open and pretty quiet. And that tends to be helpful for them where they can become present and grounded. And then I get to teach them some life skills. And the clinical intervention is called DBT, and it's about behavioral change skills. And a lot of times, what it is especially with the men, about reconnecting. It's easier to connect with an animal initially than it is maybe with your family. Their service has got them really disconnected from feelings and emotions. And with the horse, they can begin to start that program of feeling connected and being in relationship and being in a partnership. And they get to practice that with the horses first. And then we find that those kind of behavior changes start to take place, maybe in their relationship, definitely with their children, and them getting some tools to be able to regulate more consistently and not be as reactive.
well, that's good because I know in those that have seen active duty, they do deal with a lot that most of us can't even comprehend. the the trauma, and most people probably have had some level of trauma, but and I'm really, nobody in my family has been in the military. I of course wasn't, but I have had some relationships, as in my one of my ex-husband, that was, his father was a staff sergeant, but he worked on the flight line, the actual aircraft or whatever they used out over there in was it World War II? Maybe in Korea. I don't know. Anyway, but it changes a person, and it makes them hard and um very, like you said, emotionally detached, very hard to communicate.
Yeah, and so the horses really help to get that stuff going again and give them a way to practice, and they take it better from the horses. If I were to try and talk them through that, they don't want to hear it. I mean, they've heard it before, they've probably heard it at the VA, they're just not open to that. But when you involve the horses, they get curious and interested. And when I teach them how to read the body language and what those things mean, and then they get to actually step in and try those things and see the results and kind of let that guard down a little bit and let that horse come in, it makes a difference.
Mm.
And then they can begin to apply that to other areas of their lives. And then we got into doing the retreats, which exposed them to all kinds of things that would help emotionally regulate, give them a little reason to not isolate, to get out. We do it in small groups. So we started off doing groups of 4 to 6. Now we do more like 6 to 8. But we keep it small because there's a lot of anxiety, especially social anxiety. A lot of veterans tend to isolate. So even coming to the ranch for a 1 day retreat is a big deal. And we tell them that when they get there, it's like, you've done the hardest part is to get here. Now the rest is going to be fun and relaxing and enjoyable. And so we do work with the horses in the morning. We've got a variety of activities that we do. And then we have a healthy lunch and we talk about healthy eating and circadian rhythm sleep, because a lot of them have trouble with sleep. And then we do a rhythmic drumming,
Oh,
which is
nice.
a lot of good bilateral stimulation for the neurological system. And it's fun, and we do that outside or in the arena. And then from there, the naturopath that we have does teaches a yoga, just a gentle restorative yoga. When the men veterans are here, we just call it cowboy stretching because they don't want anything to do with yoga. Um, but it's good for them, and it's a good tool that if they can try it, they might kind of enjoy it. And when we have the men's veteran, we have a, a male yoga teacher that's a Marine. So he's pretty amazing. So he'll teach the yoga or the cowboy stretching to the guys. And then the naturopath is also an acupuncturist. And so she comes back and we lay in zero gravity chairs, looking at the mountain view. Or if the weather's not so great, we're in the yoga saloon. It's an Old West sarsaparilla looking saloon.
Oh,
And in the zero gravity chairs, they get to try battlefield acupuncture, which is a specific protocol of acupuncture that treats 3 points on the ear that they did in the battlefield in Afghanistan is when they started using it to treat PTSD. So they get to experience all of those things in 1 day and potentially some or all of those modalities they might continue with in order to they at least get the opportunity to try it. And then like the VA pays for acupuncture now. They've got yoga out at our Central Oregon Wellness Ranch taught by our Marine that teaches it here. So they've got other opportunities to continue those kinds of things and as a way to deal with their PTSD symptoms.
oh, that is fabulous. Cowboy stretching. That's funny. But I can understand these big tough, probably these tough guys like, I'm not doing yoga.
Yeah, pretty much.
I can understand that, but I'll have to remember that. That's really cute. Cowboy stretching. I like
Yeah.
it. Yeah, that's really great. And I noticed behind you, and I'm sure our audience is sitting there staring at your old
And
cowboy
Old
Billy.
West.
Yeah, your old Tommy and your yoga horses.
And the yoga horses. So yeah. We do have a couple of horses that do some interesting stretches, but
Really?
yeah,
Seriously?
trying to get under the fence at the grass,
Oh,
kind of
oh,
looks like downward dog. Yeah, pistol does that mostly, but
how many horses do you have now?
so we've got 10 on the ranch right now. We have 3 minis. We've got 2 halflingers that pull wagons. We've got a Vietnam veteran that we take in the parades, and we've been doing that a little over, wow, a little over 12 years. So we take him in the Sisters Rodeo Parade, the Pendleton Roundup Parade, and generally the Bend Christmas Parade. So we have that team of halflingers that pulls whatever wagon or stagecoach or chuck wagon that or surrey in the parades, but they also serve as therapy horses. So that's Duke and Daisy. And then we've got some quarter horses. So we have Pistol, who is the horse that loves to teach people about boundaries.
Hmm.
And he's out of my performance horse that I rode for 15 years competitively. And we delivered him. He's a character. And then I've got 2 other quarter horses that dear friends of mine gave to the program. I've known those horses since they were 6, and they're now, I think, 21. Both of them are this year. And they are fantastic therapy horses. Um, and then we've got 2 gypsies.
Oh,
Yeah. And they'll be our next driving team. They're already being trained for that, but they're phenomenal. They're going to make great therapy horses. We don't use them with individual clients at this point, but we do utilize them in our herd dynamics for the retreats. So where we bring horses into the arena, people get to watch them, learn about their personality, learn about the body language, how they communicate with each other. So we use them in those activities, and it'll be a little while till we use them individually with the clients.
oh, wow.
Do a pretty intensive training program with them to where we need to be comfortable that they're spatially aware, and that they will move out of your space if you ask them, that they want to connect and be involved. And we do a lot of natural horsemanship with them to get them to that place, as we do the rest of the horses. And then we're able to teach the clients how to deal with the horses relationally, rather than the traditional ways that most of us grew up riding horses, where you make them do what you want and you're the boss
Yeah.
and all that. Now we work more relationally and partner, and we actually get a lot further.
Now, how do you select a horse for your program?
So most of the horses that I have, uh, we either raised or I've had for a long time, or like the friends' horses, they were gifted to me, but we studied natural horsemanship together, and so that's the basis of their training. Is it's all relational and connection. The gypsies that we just recently acquired, we didn't know initially how they were going to be. One of them, she's just 9 months old. We delivered her last summer. But we looked closely at their disposition, and were they friendly? Did they want to interact with people? Are they relatively calm? There's quite a bit of criteria that we go through. And then once they get here on the ranch, like the gypsy mare's been here a little over a year, and she's still not in the program. But she was also raising a baby. So it takes a bit till I'm comfortable to let them interact with clients, that we've interacted with them enough, that they've done a lot of natural horsemanship, and that we spent enough time around them to know them as well as we can possibly know them, to then be able to trust them to work with a client. Now, there's a lot of programs that use rescue horses or horses that have been abused or neglected. And so we will not use any of those. I work with a lot of trauma, and I just think it's a matter of time till that trauma comes out in the horse. Maybe not an appropriate time, could be unsafe. So we steer totally clear of any rescues.
Well, I think that's wise because you're rescuing people, so you don't need double
Yeah.
trouble there. Yeah, because I've been to rescue ranches and know people that have had those, and they probably take a special type of work to heal them as well.
Yeah, and it's just not worth the risk for me. I know there's a lot of programs that do that, but I'm not willing to take that risk. And most of the clients have never been around a horse before, and I just don't think that's okay. And anyone that's experienced trauma, most places they don't feel safe, in the world, in the community. They tend to isolate, spend a lot of time at home because they have a lot of fears about going out, so out in the world. So I don't want to put that as a whole nother fear or to have them have a bad experience.
Yeah.
And we focus a lot on safety. But as a trauma survivor, you're really seeking safety. And so it makes sense to me that we provide, I mean, there's still a horse, they're still unpredictable to some extent. But if you've not got one that's not ever known trauma and has only known relational and connection interactions with people,
Mhm.
then you're going to have a better outcome. And
Yeah.
so I stick with that, and we spend a lot of time outside the pen before we ever go in to where people understand how to keep yourself safe, how to understand what the horse is trying to tell you, and then what you do to keep yourself safe as a result of that. And it ends up being a really neat partnership and relationship that they build with the horses,
Mhm.
and they learn to trust again through their work with the horse, and then they start to be able to expand their activities and comfort level, and be less reactive. But all that is learned through their interactions with the horses. So it's super important that I have a safe horse, or as safe as I can get, for them to work with in order to build that.
Mhm.
That's super important. And that trust is really important for the other people in their lives too.
Yeah, it's mutual. That's really good. Now, if people, we're going to have your information available, of course, and I'm sure the question will come up. I know you take insurance. We've talked about that. So that's an option. And with the veterans, they have their own resources as well.
So yeah, I do take the Oregon Health Plan and also Pacific Source, but with the veterans through the nonprofit, I write grants, and so there is absolutely no charge to any veteran or military family to participate in any of our programs.
That's fantastic. Any parting words before we wrap it up? This has been very informative, and again, all of your information to be contacted will be in the end of the podcast. What final parting words would you like to leave with our audience, Tammy?
So just if you know any veteran or military spouse that would be interested in taking advantage of our retreats, any veteran from all over Oregon can come, or if they receive their medical services in Oregon, they're eligible to come under the Oregon Health Authority's funding to do the retreats. And so refer anyone. We pay for a hotel for 2 nights. We pay for the fuel to get here, and then there's no charge to do the retreat. And they just need to reach out to me. We've got events that we do between April and October for the retreats, and I'd love to have more people know about this and be able to take advantage of it. So send them my way.
Sounds great. Word of mouth is powerful. So that we'll get this out to as many people as we can. Wonderful.
Perfect.
Thank you again, Tammy. I've learned a lot. Having been around horses, I probably could have benefited by some of your advice before, but But it's really, really wonderful. And thank you for the work that you do and for also coming on here with me.
Super. Well, great to see you again.
Great to see you too. But audience, thank you. Join us for another podcast. We'll be back.